Hello, my name is Priest Electric, and I would like to share with you my experience as somebody who lived his entire life basically in the Gaza border. First of all, I I am a national Israeli. I was born here, raised here. This is where I started. This is where I am right now. And I would like to teach you a little bit about the history of the Gaza conflict, a little bit about the escalation process, and a little bit about what happened in the last engagement Israel had with Gaza as somebody who actually lived in the moment, not somebody who lives outside the country, not a reporter, not, I don't know, because I saw some misinformation like the John Oliver part where he used this platform to spread misinformation, which is sad because he should have done more research. He should have gotten into more details. But somebody who I actually saw, and you should see his video because he hit the nail right in the head, and he actually understands the conflict very well. Is Cody Johnston's YouTube channel, Some More News. He did a video about it recently. He missed some parts, but some really small parts that help understand Israel's reaction. But he pretty much nailed it. Yeah, he I respect him for the level of understanding he have. So let's start in the beginning in 1948, when the UN decided to give Israel, the Jews after the Holocaust, they decided to give us permission to live here in Israel. So there was already an Arab population here, a Jewish population here, and they did not. Israel accepted this decision, but the decision was to have two countries for two people, um, to divide Israel basically in half, part for Israel, part for Palestinians. But the Palestinians did not agree to it, and also the neighboring countries decided they wanted a piece of the pie. So Israel found itself at a five five-way war with Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, and the Palestinians. And Israel managed to win that war with heavy casualties from on both sides, but Israel managed to win, and since we won, we got the entirety of Israel. We did, since the Palestinians did not accept the UN's resolution, we conquered all of Israel. Now, Israel continued to conquer a few years later. In 67, we conquered the West Bank, which is also important for our story, and also we conquered the Sinai Peninsula, but we returned it to Egypt in 73 in the peace accords. Now, in the 70s, Gaza was already established, but it was more open. It was like a country within a country, but you could go there, buy some genuine stuff like the best coffee, or find cheap employment, cheap workers, or buy cheap stuff that usually Israelis didn't have, like hookahs or like I said, coffee or hash, you know. And and also there was an organization that started to develop there called Fatah. And Fatah was a resistant movement against Israel, and they did some stuff, and Israel decided to copy America, even though it never worked in the history of all of America's history, that you enforce a small militant group who is more extreme against your current problem. They did it in Iran. They did it in Iraq. They did it in South America. Never works, Still, Israel decided to copy that uh, way of work. That small group was named Hamas, and basically Fatah and Hamas fought a lot, but in the end, Hamas won the war and took over the entirety of the Gaza Strip in 2005, I believe, when they won the election for the Gaza Strip. Now, in the West Bank, there is another Palestinian Authority, which um, which is Fatah related, and that's with them we did the Oslo Accords in '94, which got our Prime Minister Rabin murdered for. Now, in 2000 or 2001, I'm not sure, from the Gaza Strip, they started shooting Qassams, which are rockets, against the nearest city, Sderot. And I went to school with people from Sderot, and for me it was something that I was 8 years old, and they just start and they told me stories that they knew places that got shot, they knew places that they saw it, they knew people who were injured, and Israel still didn't have the Iron Dome. So basically, Hamas was shooting at civilians because they were still just a terror organization. They didn't conquer the Gaza Strip, so they could afford themselves to terrorize civilians. Now it continued until 2005, when Israel decided to have a separation, because some Israelis still lived inside Gaza. They had farms, they have stuff inside, and Israel decided one-sided separation, let Gaza be its own place. Of course, we still govern it. Not govern. We still decide its limits. We still keep our eye out that nothing happens. And 2005 we did that, and all those people came to the Israeli territories. And the first time, wait, and and so Hamas managed to establish itself even closer to more Israeli territories, and also they became better at building rockets because you build the first rocket is like this. You see what you do, you upgrades people, yeah, like the meme. And in 2006 was the first time my my place was actually hit by a Qassam. Uh, it hit, ironically, a house of people who were moved, separated from Gaza, Israelis. Um, it hit their baby's bedroom. Fortunately, the baby started crying like 10 minutes before it happened, and they took it, tried to calm it, and nobody got hurt, but the room was destroyed. The wall fell. If it was shot 10 minutes earlier, the kid was dead, basically. And since then, a lot of rockets hit. Another one hit right next to my parents' house, again in a baby's room. Again, same thing. The baby got upset. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how the baby maybe knew. I don't know. But again, room destroyed, but the kid was safe. Nobody got injured. People were afraid, of course, but it's it was still a miracle that nobody got hurt. Now, now in 2008, our then Prime Minister Ehud Olmert uh, went on a serious operation in Gaza called Oferet Yetzuka, which basically was a war, an all-out war with Gaza, and people keep saying Israelis are bullies. We have more money, we have more weapons, we have elite equipment, and yeah, but people forget that that's war. War is not clean. War is not pretty. War it's war is one side try to kill the other side, and in and war takes place in places where people live, because when you want to hurt the other side, you also want to hurt their infrastructure, not only their people, not only their soldiers. So of course, yeah, Gaza is very small. It has less places to hide the civilians, but also Hamas on purpose builds their infrastructure, hide the rockets and all that under people's houses, in people's houses. They force them because Hamas controls the bank. It's not like the civilians. Some civilians want to help them, but also some of them don't really have a choice. Somebody enters your house with an AK and tells you, "I'll put my rockets here." What are you going to tell them? And people say that Israel attacks civilians, but Israel has a policy. It's called knock on roof, where we drop pamphlets in Arabic around the area, and we tell them we're going to bomb here. Be prepared to try to save us as much life as we can. Uh, and it doesn't always work, but at least we have that policy. Of course, you warn people that where you're going to strike, they will be prepared. Like in 2008, we knew that they were hiding. No, in 2014, we knew that they were hiding a lot of military equipment in a hospital. So we informed them. We called them 3 days before. We're going to explode this hospital because we know it's a cover for military equipment. And when you explode the hospital, it was basically a deserted building by that point. But that's what you do when you try to limit the casualties of civilians. And the biggest problem is that since 2010, Benjamin Netanyahu has been prime minister, and he has let the situation just stay in place and fester. He let Hamas get a stronger hold in Gaza. He let he weakened the West Bank Palestinian movement. He soured our relationship with their leadership, which was important because they helped us. They gave us intel. They cooperated with our police forces and armed forces. If somebody did some terrorist act, they would help us to capture him without risking civilians. Uh, but Benjamin Netanyahu really soured that relationship. We're still doing it, but you can feel that it's a very thin line at the moment. And there was been some more operations. All of them got us a few months of peace, but basically we're just bombing empty buildings, empty huts. Yeah, we hit civilians. I'm not saying the Israeli army is blameless. Israel makes mistake. Israel has has racist policies, but in the last 10 years it's been uh, jumping all over the place. It's become more and more racist because of the Benjamin Netanyahu prime ministership. He To help solidify his position, he got more and more radicals into the government, and one of those radicals is his name is Ben Gvir, Itamar Ben Gvir, and he is the protege of a guy called Kahana. Kahana was a very radical, very extremist person who managed to enter the government in the 70s, I think, and all, at the, people didn't like him in the politics. They used to exit the room when he was giving speeches. They used to um, deny him, and in the end, they also made him labeled him a terrorist and prohibited him from entering politics ever again in Israel. So this figure, Itamar Ben Gvir, the protege of Kahana, he decided in the middle of Ramadan that he wants to open an office in an Arabic neighborhood in Jerusalem. With Jerusalem, since 67, since Israel managed to capture all of it, uh, Jerusalem is divided by two. Not really. Yes, really. It's very complicated. There are blockages, but you can go freely if you're Jewish, because again, as I said, Israel is racist. But if you're Arabic, it's more. Uh, so anyway, he decided to do that in the middle of Ramadan in a strictly uh, Arabic neighborhood in the east of Jerusalem, which is the Arab part of Jerusalem. And the Minister of Police, or as Internal Affairs as it's called, Amir Ohana, also moved police forces to enter the Al-Aqsa mosque and attack the people praying there for reasons. Now, I don't know how much you know, but Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa, Ramadan are very sensitive things for the Arab people. Ramadan is their holiest holiday. El Aqsa is one of the holiest mosques, and Jerusalem, of course, is the biggest bomb barrel in the world, the most the most explodable place in the world, basically, most contagious. So many people want it, so many people fought for it, are still fighting for it. So, so, and Benjamin Netanyahu, who as of this point has three standing indictments uh, in corruption. He knows this, and he moved it. And because he couldn't win the election fairly in the last 2 years, and he was up to that point, he was up to lose again. He moved all these elements together to make the perfect explosion, and Hamas decided to intervene. And you know what happened. Israel again had to go to war with Gaza. Now, I I blame Benjamin Netanyahu 100% for everything. That's his policy, and as the Prime Minister of Israel, it means Israel is at fault. But also, I can't say that Hamas is some uh, justice terrorist group where one of our soldiers got killed when he was safeguarding transfer of humanitarian aid into Gaza in the middle of the operation. He got killed. Like, you know, he was just doing his job. He was 20, got his order, defend these trucks while they're entering Gaza, bringing them supplies, even though we're actively at war with them right now. And he died. And people also say that the Iron Dome, Israel has the Iron Dome. Well, the Iron Dome is still dangerous. It's a rocket that meets a rocket midair. It's still, there are still falls that can kill you. Still need to be in a safe place. And after you've been shot by rockets for 10 years, you would start to develop defenses if you have the technology. That's why we have the Iron Dome. That's why a lot of houses in the Gaza border have safe rooms, like I have over here. Like, yeah, so yeah, Israel gets less casualties, but we still have kids with trauma. We still have adults with trauma. It's still, it's still, we still don't want this. We don't want war, and I'm pretty sure the people who live in Gaza also don't want war. But the problem is that Hamas not only uses civilians to protect themselves, they also have like small terrorist groups inside Gaza that sometimes shoot a missile. They say that, or they twice they said that because of a lightning bolt, a missile got shot when they didn't get the Qatari money, which they use to buy missiles, and that is very annoying because they also use Molotov balloons, which destroy agriculture, and you might say, ah, it's a few plants burned, but no, it's it's tons and tons of agriculture destroyed, with nobody compensating the farmers because it's tons and tons of product. The government can't pay for that, and also the water we use to extinguish it, the manpower, the man hours. It's terrorism at its most basic, to make your life hell. Yeah, the Hamas is a resistance group, but they're also a terrorist group. It's not just about resistance for them. They don't. Their motto is their agenda is to kill the Jews in Israel and make them go away, not to live peacefully with them. It's not. And again, Israel is no saint. Israel did their own shit. Israel has done, is doing, will do crimes. I know this, and as a citizen, I abhor these crimes, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm defending Israel. I just want to give you the full picture because I also am against the Israelis' way of handling things right now. I am against a lot of policies Israel has done in the last few years, and I'm just trying to help people understand that it's not it's not black and white. It's and it's also not as complicated as people say. Like they say, you can never understand. Like it's basically two groups that are caught locked horns, and unless we change our leadership, nothing will change because, like I said, Benjamin Netanyahu, he's a reactionary. He never acts. He reacts. Um, he doesn't plan ahead. He just when there is a crisis, he reacts. That's his method, and that's bad because it means that we're never we when chaos starts, he we eat shit basically. Like in 2010 when we had the big fires in Haifa, and we suddenly realized that the entire fire system in Israel is from the 70s and under budgeted. And it was a real wake-up call, which I'm pretty sure they still haven't fixed. But we didn't have a big fire since then, so. But like I said, John Oliver missed the mark. Cody Johnston really hit the mark. Yeah, but the bottom line is that we need to sit down, have a discussion, and fix this mess. Because if we, Israel, the Jewish people, can forgive Germany after after the Holocaust, we can forgive the we can make peace with the Arab nations. We made peace with Jordan, we made peace with Egypt, which were our big enemies. We can also make peace with Lebanon and Syria when they get their shit together. Which, if I may go on a little tangent now, just before the end, Syria has been using mustard gas on its own people, performing war crimes, and Israel has been receiving refugees from Syria, treating them and returning them to Syria. Lebanon is basically Hezbollah state. They have Hezbollah people in the government. They have Hezbollah people controlling the state, and nobody gives a fuck. There in China, there are right now concentration camps for a minority. Russia invaded Ukraine, and nobody gives a fuck. America has cages for refugees. But Israel is always in the eye of the storm. People always seems to blame us. And as somebody who can see all of the world news, it feels kind of hypo. It feels. I don't want to say anti-Semite, but it feels like you're hyper focused on the wrong problem. America, Russia, China, UK. You do realize that your country also has some problems that you need to fix. And the worst thing is that Israel has never been a member of the UN, uh, the UN not security, arms council, which is again it's fucked up because Libya has been part of it, which its government under Muammar Gaddafi uh, did terrorist acts. Lebanon has been, Syria has been, Iran has been. Yeah, Iran, the big enemy of the West right now, the ones who say death to America. But Israel has never been there, you know. And basically that's what I'm just some guy who wants to get his experience out there. Some some I've been dealing with all these thoughts in the last weeks, and I just wanted to share them with you because I didn't want to keep them in my head anymore. I want them out. If not, I'll go fucking crazy. And try to be try to be good to each other. Try to remember that we all just want to live our lives peacefully. Not all of us want to kill each other. Some of us just want peace. And be just be grateful for what you have. I mean, I know that I know from experience that one day you can be streaming video games, saying bullshit, and the next you could be living 24/7 in your safe room because you're being you're being bombarded, and then like nothing, back to reality. We go back to work, pick up the pieces, and continue like nothing happened. So thank you for listening to me in this long ass video. This is not the usual content I make. I usually make compilations of streams I do, but again, I felt very strongly about this, and hopefully this will open the conversation. This will maybe change the conversation towards not blaming people, but towards finding solutions, because we can all point fingers. We can all say you were bad in this situation, you're bad in this situation, but let's just say how can we not enter this situation again? How can we be better? So again, thank you for watching this and have a great day.